Oh, here we go. Great. Perfect. Let me make this a little bit smaller. Chat. This is gonna be great. All right. Perfect.
Wah, wah, wah.
Adam, I feel like you've been ducking me, man. I've been trying to call you for many times. Every time I call you when something is going down, you tell me you're fucking a bitch. I'm like, damn. I'm like, I gotta come to LA to see this motherfucker now.
Nah, I just wasn't giving you the gratitude of getting the first convo in the middle of Cutgate 2023.
You pretty much gave me the like. You actually hit me up before. Well, kind of before. Well, actually, no. I saw it, like the little preview of it, and like all my like meme pages. They're like, "Yo, no, this is real." And I was like, "Nah, this ain't real." So I hit you, and you were like, "Yeah, it's real." And you were like, "No, yo, you can run with it." And I was like, "Oh, that's like the exclusive. Like you're kind of giving me the exclusive." Because let's be honest though, Adam.
Well, it was already out there. I just told you, like, you were like, yeah, I'm not going to talk about it because it's your baby mama or whatever.
Yeah, I was
and I
gonna
was
chill.
like, what? I was like, just talk about it. I was like, what are you fucking talking about? And in retrospect, like, there's no way you would have actually been able to avoid talking about it, right?
No. I could have talked about it, but respect. I think me and you, we've been through some shit, and we got to a point that especially when you married your woman, I was like, listen, a few little underhanded comments that I would hit you with the jab with, I wouldn't do it anymore because this is not your wife. This is distasteful. If I actually see you as a peer that I frequently collaborate with, trade information
You
with,
think
and talk with.
the sanctity of marriage is such a big difference in that regard?
Yes, bro. If it's your girl or if it's like some random girl you're smashing, bro, you gotta hold that. Your wife, because here's the thing. I'm also thinking when I say wife, I'm thinking family. I'm thinking a kid. So now
Right.
every comment about her, I'm looking at it like, all right, it's one thing if it was your girlfriend. Now this is like your family for life. Like for example, even with, and we're gonna talk about it, the whole thing with like say whack, which he was lying. He's like, yo, whack, yo, your girl got hit by a blue face. Yo, it's one thing if it's like, okay, cool. Let's say if it was true, I'd be like, well, okay, now it's not my girl. I'm good.
Hey,
Like
what if it is true?
it's not true. But here's the thing, yo, if it was true, right? You know the easy way I get out of it, and just any guy gets out of it. Just be like,
Right.
I'm leaving, right? When it's your wife, you can't leave. When you have a child,
We're talking about the sanctity of marriage, but the thing is that the thing that was to be discussed, the thing that was in the news, was me basically taking a huge steaming shit on the institute of marriage, or at least that's how I've been led to believe it was to be taken by the Candace Owenses of the world, who were very offended by me. Like, if we weren't married, it would not have been as big a deal. But to
True.
me, getting married was pretty much like whatever. Being that I don't believe in God or whatever,
why
it was
get
just
married?
it was
That's
like
my thing.
a level of making it more serious, but it didn't really contain any like additional layer of, oh, the relationship is more serious. Now, we already bought a house together, started a business together, and had a kid together before we got married. So getting married was like not a bigger deal than the rest of the shit that we had already done.
So this is where we're probably gonna get into the minutiae of probably where we disagree the most. Why get married? I hear everything you say, and I've heard you kind of reiterate these things before, but why even enter into a marriage? I know you're saying it's a different level of seriousness. I mean, already you guys have business tied together. You guys
Right.
already had a family. What more? Like, why do you think, if you don't really give a fuck about the sanctity of marriage, why did you think that marriage made what you already had going on even more serious? Or why did you do it?
Well, it's like if I turn 40 and I don't have a birthday party, I'm still 40. You know, the party
Okay.
is just to like celebrate it and make it clear, make more people know about it, have a good time, etc. You know, a way to have like a celebration. And also, I think like from her perspective, especially growing up in the Armenian culture, which is kind of conservative, and they take marriage much more serious than I think that my atheist punk rock, hip hop, whatever subcultures that I've been involved in my whole life.
What
Like
about your family?
in hip hop, marriage is not really like, I mean, I guess it is important, but it's not really important to like most of the people that I spend time with or hang out with. But I think from her perspective, it's important. And for me, it was like, actually, to be honest, my mind changed a shitload as soon as I saw that kid get ripped out of the hole in his stomach, because that kind of made me realize like how permanently bonded to this person I was. And then all of a sudden marriage started to like appeal to me more. It's like, oh, okay, if I am as serious as I now feel about this commitment in this relationship, I might as well seal it with the thing that our culture has built, basically, to make it clear that you're serious about your relationship, right?
So, if I'm getting what I'm hearing from you, because also family is important. Like family's very much important. And
Yeah.
again, I'm telling you, like for example, I'm being very just all the way honest. If you never married Lena, Lena would be my number one. Like if me and you had any, is number one way to attack you. But once you married her, it means something to me. I understand that. Like family means something. It's like just like I would never attack your child. You get what I mean? Like that is something that is sacred. I don't care. Like, and I guess I'm wondering, like maybe is it just you or your whole family don't care about marriage?
No, I mean, my parents have been married for like 40 fucking years. My sister's married to the dude Josh on the channel, who works here. Everybody in my family, I would say, takes marriage relatively serious, except me. Like that was not all through my 20s when I was going to the bar and fucking and doing drugs and all this shit, and even in my early 30s and stuff. Never once did I think like, oh, I'm looking for the woman that I'm gonna marry. Like that was not at the front of my brain at any point in my life until really honestly though, I sometimes think about a relationship and I think that in a way it was like a reaction to how fucking scary getting famous was and how immediately like fake everybody around me immediately appeared to be as soon as I started to get like a certain level of notoriety and just realizing of like, oh, like I can't trust anybody. Like everybody around me is fake as fuck. And like I met her around the same time and kind of realized at that time, like, oh, I might have fucked like 100 girls this year, but this girl's actually like, she really gives a shit about me. She really cares about me. She's actually a good person. And that's pretty much like the thing that like opened me up to even being in a relationship in the first place.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to start out by trying to get your definition. You could get mine if you care to as well, because it's probably gonna be the context and the pretext needed for any conversations we're gonna have, even if it's about your personal relationships to mine, right? What does love mean to you? Because you're saying marriage means nothing. What does love mean to you?
I don't know. What the fuck kind of question is this? This is like a Valentine's Day
No,
question or
no,
some
no, no,
shit.
no.
I mean, I feel you. Like, obviously, with
Hold on.
her, it's like,
I'll get straight
I
to it.
feel
Hold on.
like
I asked
we
that
we
question
have a
because of this.
connection and a commitment to each other
Yeah.
that emotionally, physically, spiritually, whatever the fuck that means, etc., that we'll be there for each other. You know, it's like, I don't know if you're saying this in the context of like, how could you then be okay with another dude fucking her for content?
No,
But
not
yeah,
that.
to me, that doesn't really like feel contradictory to the whole relationship thing.
Well, I asked that pretty much to know if you look at marriage, because usually for the regular people, marriage is usually the ultimate commitment and symbol of what love is, right? And that's usually built upon we want to have a family, we want to have it under some type of covenant of God. And the reason why I ask you that is because I think a lot of people, and I think they correctly assume, and even I assume that your relationship with Lena is much more business than it is love.
No
And
way.
tell me how it's not.
I mean, we were together for like 5 years before we started the plug talk thing. And during that time period, I would say that we had like very little to do with each other business wise. Like, yes, she would come on to a jumper from time to time. And yes, I was, banging her for fucking OnlyFans or whatever. But the idea that our relationship is like business oriented, not at all. I mean, the plug talk thing kind of like took our relationship and made content out of it. But besides like her being in some vlog thumbnails and shit back in the day, I mean, she's almost never on the podcast. It's not really like a thing we do together. It's not really like her lane, right? Our relationship is like not business related at all, I don't think, besides
Really?
the plug talk shit
Okay.
now.
So and help correct me. And this is my remembrance or even the narrative that I believe that happened with you guys, right? I remember the first time I saw you guys were on my stream. And I remember at that point, you probably was early on, so like, it was probably relatively just like you guys are probably new. But as time went on, I felt that you knew that there, first of all, you're in LA, very different from where I'm at on the East Coast or where pretty much anybody else is at. I felt there was a synergy of where you realized that where you wanted to bring your brand, because your brand, I believe, say 2016, 2017, heavy hip hop, but of course, I think your personal, interest in what you kind of wanted to get into was much more than that, right? So now you're probably also going to all these parties. You're kind of interested in this adult entertainment world. She's also taking a liking to it, and this is where I say more business than just like personal and just love. And I know it sounds corny when I say it, but her business interests start to align with some of the interests you were having. Like, for example, if you were repulsed or if you weren't cool, like, say, with the porn world, as you guys were together, if she was having, like, hey, I want to kind of do this with OnlyFans or whatever, you would probably be like, hey, our interests are driving us apart. This is what I'm trying to say, and I'm trying to make an eloquent point of, I believe because there's been business mutual interest, it's been the thing that's been underlying. I'm not saying there's no love there, but that's been the underlying thing that's gotten y'all to here. And y'all did the perfect move, which y'all should cash out at a certain point. This was the cash out move, and I know you don't believe in marriage. You don't give a fuck about it, but maybe you could say, and I don't know if you would admit it if she was pressuring you, but you essentially kind of did it because, I'm not saying for the scene, but you knew that was an eventual step as far as your business with her goes.
I definitely knew it was more important to her than it was to me as a person who just like never even thought about it, or never, like, my whole life I pictured that once I met a girl that I wanted to be with forever, or for a long period of time, that we wouldn't get married, we would just be very serious boyfriend and girlfriend. But in that regard, you got to remember too that in like 2016 when I started seeing her, porn was like a very different landscape where I never saw myself having any kind of involvement in it. And it seemed like there was just this massive like barrier to get over to be involved with porn in any kind of business way. Whereas like you get into like 2019, 2020, where OnlyFans is like taking over the world. And it's like all of a sudden it just started to seem a lot more reasonable that like regular people could kind of get into this shit. Like when I first started to have any kind of clout on Twitter, like 2015, I probably had like 20,000 followers on Twitter or whatever. I was exclusively sliding in porn star DMs, just trying to hang out with them and try to go, lick some porn star ass, because this was just this aspirational thing to me. As soon as you get some level of clout, and that's why when I see somebody like Zion Williamson, I totally get it, because he's young as fuck. He starts getting money. He starts getting fame. All of a sudden, he can fuck a Mariah Mills. And yes, to like men of taste like us, we're kind of looking at Mariah Mills like, this is maybe not the best use of your time for a lot of different reasons. And, but for me, when I was first getting in the game, oh my God, I was so excited to be banging these fucking starlets that I was meeting on Twitter and shit. But I mean, I never had any kind of intention of getting into the porn business. Cause let me tell you something, is that when I met her, I could have, like, I was trying to convince her to become a YouTuber, right? Cause that was the game that I knew. So I'm like, yo, I'm gonna get you lit on YouTube, and you can be getting all these hundreds of thousands of views or whatever. And we thought up the whole scheme of like, oh, she's gonna do a sex tape when she hits 1 million subscribers, which people don't really remember,
what?
but that was like the big viral thing.
Wait, sex tape with who though?
With me, but that was okay. In 2016.
Oh yeah, she was like, there was a few people who did that. There was another girl who did that shit too, and she blew crazy up. Remember that? There was a girl.
Oh yeah. I mean, she got to 1 million subscribers from it, but my thing was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna take 20% of your YouTube. She never made like any significant amount on YouTube. I think largely because the subscribers that you get when you like make that kind of content or whatever are going to be like foreign and like low paying CPM customers and shit like that. But then also, she probably got like put in some kind of category of being like X-rated or whatever. But if I had said, I need 20% of the OnlyFans early on, oh, that would have been the move. But I wasn't thinking about it like that because I didn't know anything about OnlyFans. OnlyFans didn't even exist when I got with her, for the record. But then even after that, when it came around, it was like that was not at the forefront of my mind. Now, keep in mind, you fast forward a couple of years and I meet a Sky Bree, and boom, we get her in the contract, which, by the way, just recently ended. So, I feel a little bit more like
how much you made
discussing
off her?
It.
Be honest, how much you made off her? Keep it 100. Million? More? Off just managing? Nah, Sky Bree's one hot bitch.
That's what I'm saying. And bro, she came to the office to do a Patreon
Wait, off
episode,
like
and
30%? You made a mill?
a regular ass chick from Pennsylvania with 4,000 followers. And keep in mind, like, my girl was pregnant at this time. So I had to go home and say to my girl, like, listen, I know you're the size of a fucking house right now and you don't feel sexy, and you know your vagina's doing weird things and your nipples are turning super dark and everything. Like, you don't feel sexy right now, but I met a girl today and I swear to God that she's a star, and we are going to be fucking kicking ourselves if we don't sign her.
Yo.
And I battled through it and I got the deal done, even though it was at that time, it was a serious threat to my relationship because my girl was like not trying to hear this at all. But we made it happen.
Yo, Adam, I'm gonna be honest with you, and I had a perfect follow up question, but I do have to segue to this. Do you believe that any of these actions that you've done has caused any potential psychological damage on the people who are eventually, you know, as I said, I still believe everything you're doing. I don't care what you're saying. It's business minded. Hey, I'm going to help you blow up on YouTube. Let's get to 1 million. We're going to do a sex tape. You're hoping these are business moves. This is not, hey, listen, I love my girl. My girl has always wanted to be a YouTuber. No, you're thinking of a scheme like, let's get more money. Let's get more money. Okay. Especially when your now wife is pregnant, big as a house, probably feeling insecure about herself. You're saying, yo, I just met this like young hot bitch from Pennsylvania, and I think we should like put our focus on our brands into her to blow her up. Do you ever stop to think to be like, hey, what's that doing to my relationship? Or even like, you know, now I see you stop posting your child online. Hey, maybe some of the comments, the weird comments and the weirdos trolling, you know, as your child eventually probably gets to know, or maybe like gets an iPad or whatever, they're probably going to either be bullied or whatever. Do you care about like the psychological effects of anything?
I mean, like, I had to manage that when I went to Lena and said, hey, I met this fucking girl who's super hot that we should sign or whatever. But, you know, just to use the kid thing as an example, because I did stop posting her, whereas like when we were on the honeymoon, even like 6 months ago or whenever that was, I was posting her nonstop. Then the fucking Jason Love arc, Jesus, the arc takes over. And then, yo, like I had the worst shit happen. Like if it, like I probably would have been able to like keep posting her and not really think much of it if not for this one thing, is that there was one dude who took a screenshot from a TikTok that Lena made last October that was like on her mom page, right? And so we all got face paint done. I was Bert, my kid was the Count, and Lena was Elmo.
Yeah.
So all Sesame Street characters. And in the whole entire TikTok that's like a minute and a half long or whatever, there's like 2 seconds of her breastfeeding the kid, right? Well, some dude with 500,000 followers screenshotted the part with the breastfeeding, and then he took it and he posted on Twitter and he said, this is from the Plug Talk TikTok. Adam22 and Lena posted their child on their porn account. This is what he said, even though, again, it was on her TikTok mom page.
Yeah.
He said that it maybe got like 30,000 likes or whatever. So this was a relatively successful tweet. And then I was talking about it, like, just to, you know, obviously you could say like, well, anyone smart or anyone who really cares about it is going to look into it and figure out that that wasn't actually the truth. I would say that Destiny is somebody that I have a good relationship with. And I was talking to him on a podcast like a week later, and I mentioned this exact thing and said how fucking annoying I thought it was. And Destiny goes, oh, that wasn't true? He's like, oh, I saw that. I thought that was true. And I'm like, what? Like, so at that moment was when I was like, oh, this 100%, we just can't post our kid anymore, because even just giving anybody any tiny amount of ammunition like that, because like I want my kid to have a normal life. And I feel like I work hard because I want my kid to have a normal life where she doesn't have to like all these families, like Ace family and shit, who just basically use their kids for content. Like, some people find it distasteful that we're out here having sex for content or whatever. But for me, I find the whole family vlogger thing to be like significantly more troublesome to me, because I've seen the incentives and where that leads people and how people end up fucking like having their kids fight and making up weird drama between their kids and using the thumbnails that make it seem like their kid is in danger and shit like that. Like, that's something that I don't want to fucking deal with at all. And I have a lot of respect for somebody like Casey Neistat, who he used to make vlogs with his daughters in them, and I would watch them and thought that they were great. But
And he
then, like at
stopped.
one point, I guess something, I don't know if anything really happened, but he just stopped posting his kid. And like once in a while, I'll have a clip in the vlog where you can see like the back of their head or some shit, but he doesn't
He
actually
spoke.
post them. And this is a guy whose content is squeaky clean, but he does have a lot of eyeballs on him, and potentially, psychos and stalkers and shit like that could potentially be trying to do something to him. So to me, it's like, as long as we're going to be doing risque shit in the public eye, and in particular, the fact I have nothing to gain from posting my kid online. In fact, like her being at preschool and shit, like I want her to be anonymous. Like she got like some no jumper baby shirts the other day that my sister made her, and I was immediately like, "Yo, make sure she never wears these to school," because it's like I'm not really trying to have my kid have her life colored any more than it has to be by my life experience. Now, obviously, at some point, somebody's going to be like, "Hey, your parents have sex on the internet." In a perfect world, by the time she's old enough to really be dealing with that, we won't even be doing that anymore. I feel like I've talked to a lot of kids, or not kids, but like I've talked to a lot of people in the porn industry whose parents were in the porn industry as well, because in LA and Hollywood, that shit seems like it kind of gets passed down in some family lineages, and not even like people who actually like do real deal porn, but like
Yeah.
I know a girl who does like a porn podcast, and her mom was a porn photographer. So like neither of them ever did porn, but they're both kind of like just been in the adult business, like they're fucking plumbers or some shit. But either way, like I'm not trying to have my kid be like exposed to that shit at all. And already I'm like super conscious of all the different ways. Like if we have a house party and Sky Bree and Angela White are standing there talking, and my kid goes over and stands next to him, it's like, if somebody takes a photo of my kid standing next to two porn stars, what's the immediate viral quote tweet that everybody is gonna fucking jump on? Is just gonna be, oh, look at them grooming her for this fucking for her future career or some shit like that. So
I
from
mean,
my
they did it to
perspective, it's like,
Blueface
all right,
recently too. They
I'm gonna
did.
make all this way easier and just be like, all right, your whole life is a secret until you get to the point where you can kind of like make some level of decision about if you want to be in the public eye or not, you know?
Isn't it too late though? And I guess ultimately, I want to ask you the question of, it, I've always been confused about this with you, in trying to figure out if there are tangible goals, or are you going down the path you're going down because you just genuinely love it, or you have a goal? Like, for example, some people, or this is usually the stripper's fallacy, as I call it. A girl who says she doesn't enjoy, objectifying herself or showing her body. She's like, hey, I'm only in the strip club to make $100,000. I'm going to use that money to blah, blah, blah. Then I'm getting out of there. Right. And usually people are goal oriented, unless like they're just like, hey, this is just what I love to do. With you, like, even as I heard you talk about like briefly and kind of vaguely, and I understand why, because you don't want niggas pocket watching you no more. You were talking about the amount of money you made on or the amount of money Lena made with that particular scene. I've been waiting for you to be like, listen, you know what? We've made enough. And with you, there's like there's zero idea of a goal. It feels like I'm gonna call it degeneracy. Obviously, you wouldn't. It feels like this is what you love to do. It's not that you're doing like, hey, we're just trying to hit this lick and move on. It's like, hey, this is our lifestyle. This is what we were kind of like either hinting at or kind of headed towards. And me and Lena, we just love it here.
Okay, so imagine 2 different days for me. Sometimes I'll have a day where I got to film 2 interviews back to back. And, quite often these are interviews I'm like extremely excited to do, where it's people that I respect and I'm just dying to have a fucking conversation with. And there's all these questions. I'm sure you feel the same way when you do a piece of content with somebody, when you go in to interview Vlad, which I didn't actually get a chance to watch that one yet, but I watched like the first half of the Vic Mensa one today, which I guess actually, if I were you, I probably wouldn't have been that excited for that one. But either way, like you're going in to have a conversation with somebody, you're super excited. Like in that moment, if I would do that shit for free, and yes, I'm gonna make however much money off it, but I would totally do that shit for free. Now, at the same time, when I go in to do porn, it's a different type of excitement, where it's like the same way that you probably feel when you're like driving not that you would do such a thing, but if you were driving to some chick's house at midnight to go have a wild ass threesome or whatever, it's like you're all geeked up, you're just like excited, like, oh my God, this is gonna be fucking tight. My boner's going in and out and and that's like exciting, but in a very different way. But would I hang it up intentionally? Hell no, because it's like I love doing the porn shit. Like as much as it's like, yeah, it would be more fun to do it off camera, but also that would be a very weird use of a Monday for me to like fuck two random girls in the middle of the day. Like doing it for money is just like, I don't know. It's like it's the most natural thing in the world at this point. Like why the fuck would I want to like go hit the club and like, party and shit to fuck some girls, which, every guy that I know has a bunch of money. This is what they end up doing is they end up going to the club and they end up fucking hella, random girls and they spend money on them. They buy them shit, all this kind of stuff.
So
For
so
me,
in short,
it's weird
Adam,
because I cut myself off from that mentality of chasing pussy. I'm still fucking a bunch of random girls, but it's within this like very strict confines that also is very profitable. But honestly, like I'm not worried about like the post plug talk part of my life. Like if I hit 44 and it's just like, oh, all right, we're not gonna do porn anymore. I mean, that sounds fine. Like I don't think I'd be stressing like fucking a bunch of different chicks and shit.
I guess I ask you because, like, for example, I don't have kids, but like as time goes on, like even when I just got like some type of fame, and I was like, I realized the power in fame, and like you could DM a girl and she fucking sees that you're popular, and like she just acts abnormally. She's like, "Yo, I don't give a fuck if I'm like in Antarctica. I'm about to come fuck you, right?"
You
That
could DM a
happens.
trans girl.
Well, that didn't happen, but so that whole phase, right, happens for a while, right? But eventually, like, how old are you now?
39, dude. I'm 40 in like a couple months.
So you're 40 now with a kid and a wife, and you're still like your Monday. The highlight of your Monday is like having these threesomes.
I mean, is it a highlight? I mean, the whole entirety of my existence feels like a fucking highlight because, all right, I was just thinking about, how it's like when you're in the middle of a moment or a movement, it's very, very hard for you to see where you're actually at. Like when I was in the middle of the SoundCloud rap wave, it's like I didn't really like perceive it as being that, and it didn't really have a name until it was kind of like over or almost over, And like even when I look back, like I didn't realize how much of a moment the ADT rail lush whatever the fuck era of No Jumper was until it was kind of over, and then it was like, oh, okay, that was like a real period of my life. Like that's a fucking chapter.
It's hard
right
to see
there.
the forest from the
But
trees.
I think I'm kind of lucky enough at this point because I'm old enough and I've like been through enough moments and been in enough moments that I can look at my life now and just be like, I could really like hang it up right now and be totally fine. I was in Hawaii a couple weeks ago and I also was having a lot of those moments of like, damn, maybe you'd be happier if you just like chilled on the beach and like, went to this fucking food truck and got a burger and just like kicked it on some like super chill shit. But then at the same time, it's like I still feel like I'm in the middle of a moment. I still feel like chasing these interviews and doing this content and doing this porn shit and inventing the porn live stream space that we've now pioneered on onlyplugtalk.com, etc. It's like I'm still in the middle of this shit and it's still fun. And if it gets to the point where it's not fun, I could totally imagine myself taking a step back. But I don't know. Yeah, I'm having a great time in the middle of all of it. So I don't really see a reason why I'd want to fall back, even though it does kind of feel like an option. And if anything, I'm working my ass off like harder than I kind of ever worked in terms of the sheer amount of like shit that I just have booked on an average week.
So are you trying to convince me that you enjoyed the moment of Jason Love penetrating your wife? Because I really look at it and say, Adam, you're too rich for this, man. And I know you're probably one of the, honestly, the humblest. Like, I feel like I have a great like gauge of where everybody is like financially, and you never lead with money, and I always know that, but you got it. And I've been telling everybody, I'm like, I don't care what dollar amount they say he was about to earn. I know he's making that, maybe in a longer period of time. He's making that from what he's doing, that he doesn't have to do that. So how do you process that? For me, I felt like, and this is my own theory, Lena was giving you some pressure because, like, yo, hey, listen, again, most of these female, like, porn stars or OnlyFans women, they kind of identify like they're feminists. So, like, she's probably hitting you with, like, all her fans are probably saying, hey, what about fairness? You let him fuck other bitches. He got to let you fuck other women. And I think it probably got to you. And eventually, like, I don't know if y'all made a deal. I think y'all are really into more of a business than a marriage. Y'all probably made some type of deal. And you had to, like, you signed off on her taking a dick. Because
No.
it's no way you enjoy
Okay.
that. And by the way, the
basic
poker face.
gist of that. Oh shit, he's still talking about.
Oh, yeah, the poker face you exhibited during the whole thing was fucking phenomenal. You even brought out a new character. I think you kind of went into a different arc, but there's zero way that when you went to sleep, like, again, I know it was very cheesy when I asked about love earlier, but like, love is associated with like that fucking feeling in your stomach that you can't even understand why it's happening, but that's just really what it is. When that nigga fucked your wife, bro, there's no way you tell me you slept like a baby that night. Ain't no way. Ain't no way. I will never believe it.
I will say I always sleep very, very well, no matter what I'm going through. My sleep is one thing I always prioritize. But that being said, I think, you said I kept a good poker face, and
Yeah.
I felt like I kept a good poker face for a lot of it. But this is the thing, is like, all right, she did that on a Sunday, and I knew it was going to happen for like a couple weeks or like a month because we've been talking about it. And I made the decision to do it from a business standpoint, which was basically like, I believe that if you're going to go truly viral, there always has to be like a sacrifice of some sort. Like, for instance, I went extremely viral for having a guy run up in my fucking spot and point a gun in my face. That was like the most viral thing that had happened to me up to that point.
That was real though, right?
Part of it was the fact that I fucking had my safety put in question. It wasn't like an intentional sacrifice on my part. And yes, it did make me look like vulnerable and like I was in a position where I could get fucked up. But it's kind of like part of going viral that somebody has to take an L. And I basically kind of like decided that in order to pull that storyline off, I had to be willing to take an L, at least in the public eye, to a certain extent. And I basically was just like, you know what? You can handle this. Be a tough guy. It's going to be worth it. That was my mentality going into it. Then she goes and does it. And I was a little bit surprised by the fact that it's interesting that you use the stomach metaphor there, or actually not a metaphor. We're like actually talking about how you feel in the pit of your stomach. But just knowing that it happened, it left me with like a queasiness that I was not expecting. So that was kind of surprising to me. But I had to go in and do a podcast the next day. That was Sunday that she did it. I go in and do the podcast Monday. Now, me and her talked for maybe an hour and a half before we went to bed after she did that scene, right? But so I go in and I'm talking to Destiny and Crit Mac on camera, and you can imagine, like, obviously the fact that I'm talking about it with Crit Mac is like the weirdest thing ever. Like, Destiny is a pretty good shoulder to not cry, but to lean on in that moment.
He could empathize.
Crit Mac
He would
is
that
the
shit.
weirdest possible person you could confide in. But I decided to treat it kind of like I treat almost all of my content, which is that I try to, like, when we're doing podcasts like this, I'm trying to just be honest. I'm trying not to like have anything that I'm hiding, or, I try to just be like really upfront as much as possible. And I find that it's hard for me to be on camera when I'm not being honest. Like, it's kind of hard for me to like even get in the mood to get on camera when I know that there's big shit that I'm going to have to be covering up. So as soon as I got on camera, I basically just started talking about it. And I told Crit Mac and Destiny, and I was a little bit too honest. I didn't have enough of a poker face where, like, I wish that I had been able to like 100% completely play the character of the guy who was 100% on board, because I feel mostly on board. Like, this is not something that I'm stressed about. And I had that realization when I was in one of these fucking orgies the other day, where, I'm fucking my girl and there's another guy fucking another girl right next to her. And I'm kind of thinking in the back of my head, like, how would you feel if she sucked his dick right now while you're fucking her? And
How
because
would you?
in the context of the,
How would you feel though? Real talk.
how would I feel? I mean, it's always a little bit of a roll of the dice because you're kind of playing with your feelings there. You're playing with you're not 100% sure about how you're going to feel. She didn't do it in that case. She only did that Jason scene, but I don't think it would bother me because I'm fucking other girls in the context of this orgy while they're fucking other guys. Like, I'm fucking this girl. I'm slamming her head down on this gigantic fucking black dick.
Adam,
I mean,
my problem with you is this. And I think, I've loved the fact that despite many attempts to, I think No Jumper became what it is and you became who you are because there was a very severe attempt to cancel you. They were trying to ostracize you as one of those people like, hey, this is persona non grata right here. So I get it. But so to me, you're the epitome of woke or even cancel culture, right? Like so when I hear you kind of like agree with these, like, well, I gotta be okay if she wanted to suck a dick during the orgy. Like, no, you're not cool with that. You get what I mean? Like,
be
bro.
okay with it because she deserves this or something. It's just like, I feel like I'm in the place with my relationship and our content that we could do that, and that's not going to change how I feel about her. I could say that the Jason Love thing, like, it's weird because I'll like post a photo with her and get a million fucking comments that are still talking about the Jason Love thing, and it's
Yeah.
like, oh shit, like I haven't thought about that in weeks. Like that totally like vanished from my brain like a couple of days after it happened, because that's just not really like a big deal from our perspective. The same way that she saw me getting smothered half to death by Juliana Cabrazia's gigantic fucking butt the other day, and she didn't have anything to say about that. It doesn't mean anything to her. The same way, I'm not going to say it doesn't mean anything to me, but I think that I've like wrapped my head around the reality of her doing shit with other guys on camera enough that it's
This
just
is how I
not
could
really,
debunk
it's
that,
not
that
really
bullshit you
challenging to me
saying.
anymore.
Because if you really believe that, it wouldn't, like, the performer wouldn't matter if you really didn't care. And I know there's certain people, you know, just intuitively, because that's the mother of your child, you would never want her to have sex with.
No, but
You would.
I learned that in the course of the Jason Love storyline, that who it is matters like massively because of the fact that I am a public figure. And like, I don't really think he did anything like super malicious or like he was really like trying to be super disrespectful or whatever. But he definitely like said some shit that I wasn't comfortable with, and just kind of
I can't
treated it
understand why
in a
you're
way
mad
that
at
I
him though.
wasn't super hyped on.
Wait, why are you mad at him? Like, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like with all due respect, a nigga nutting your wife, you can never talk shit to him. Like, there's nothing. Anytime, like, if I'm him, I'll be just dropping screenshots like Dylan Dennis all day on you. Like, you couldn't say nothing to me.
And that, it's understandable that that's like, well, he didn't do that, but he just kind of like talked about it in ways like, to me, there's a code in porn where we're all fucking each other on camera, and so therefore there are things that we just don't talk about. Like,
He was
for instance,
critical of your performance.
bro, I've seen a lot of male porn stars be unable to get a boner, and this is like mega embarrassing for them in that moment. And I've never came on camera and been like, holy shit, this guy couldn't get a boner, because it's just like, that's the codes of this shit. The same way that sometimes I'll fuck a girl on camera and I know her husband, and her husband's like a dude where I could theoretically go on the podcast the next day and be like, yo, you're not gonna believe it, I fucked this girl yesterday and she's married to so and so. Because there are some of these porn star girls are like secretly married to dudes who, I'm not gonna say they're like A-listers, but some of them are like relatively public people and shit.
So,
And I would just never do that. So that's why, I mean, this is all going to seem kind of small in comparison to what we have coming, because we have like a whole series that me and Lena are going to be dropping.
what the fuck?
That's basically like us searching for the next guy. There's a little bit of a sneak preview right there for you. Yeah.
Wait, hold on.
We got a whole series that we're working on that is going to be fucking ridiculous.
Yo, that is crazy. Hold on, but here's the thing though, and I completely get what you're saying, and I think what you're saying is completely valid, right? You guys are in the porn world. You know, you guys could always be critical of each other or kind of take a little braggadocio like, yo, hey, I fucked your bitch. And that's just usually kind of frowned upon. I think why Jason Love even said anything is because, and I don't know if this is the common consensus among people that do adult entertainment, he was saying, and he was putting himself in your shoe. Basically, kind of like, if I had the empire that you got going on, if I had the money that you got going on without prior like adult entertainment experience, I'm not letting my wife, like, if monetarily we don't need it, I'm not letting my wife get fucked. And I think that's what I think.
I totally get that. But the problem with Jason Love is that, to his credit, large man, great build, large penis, not a visionary. I'm a visionary. I saw a plot line unfolding right in front of me at that moment, like something right there that we could just seize and take it and make something out of it. And honestly, like, once we really got into the swing of things, I kind of felt like Blueface and Krishan in a way, in the sense that, like, the same way that they have been able to have this incredibly messy, abusive relationship, and it's created this storyline that people can't look away from.
Right? Okay.
Like, for that time period, me and Lena were basically doing the same thing, but instead of it being me knocking her dad out on camera, it was, oh, she's going to do a scene with another guy, and then we're going to talk about it on Twitter and make TikToks about it that go viral. And, you know, that kind of made me realize that, like, that is our thing that we can harness, is like being a freakier couple out in public than the average public couple. All we have to do is harness harness that viral energy surrounding that thing,
Yeah.
and boom, it's a ticket to the fucking moon.
Okay. And one more question, and we can move on to some hip hop and media shit too. But I do want to ask, because I thought about this when I heard you actually admit it. Because I was really trying to wrap my mind around it, right? But you had mentioned that pretty much when you had first met Lena, like you and somebody else ran a train on her. So it was like you were kind of open to.
It wasn't a train. We just fucked her at the same time.
Yeah, it's a train.
No, it's a train if you take turns.
Oh, it's a gangbang. It's a gangbang. You're right. Okay.
Yeah. 2 is a threesome. 3 guys, I think, is more like.
There's no threesome with 2 niggas. Hell no.
Just to be.
But anyway, okay. So you were if you never, prior to all of this, now y'all have kids, marriage. If you never shared her with another man, or even like say the house phone situation, if it was a situation where you never knew anybody else that's ever been with her sexually, right? And you kind of felt like she was sexually exclusive to you, do you think you would have been open to this?
It might have been harder for me to like open my mind to it for sure. But the reality is that very early on in our relationship, like you said, me, her, and another dude who was a close friend of mine, we all ended up banging at the same time. And I thought it was hot. It was like a good memory from my perspective. And what I had to do, because listen, like we were running trains on girls and shit when I was young, when I was like high school, basically. When I was like 18 or 19, I remember like fucking a girl with 2 of the homies in the woods. And like, you know, this was just normal shit at that time. And I think that that's like the weird thing about it is that I'm incentivized as a person who makes porn to be more open-minded than I might be otherwise. And that's why everybody kind of sees that logic playing out in my brain. And that's why people are always like, well, are you going to fuck a dude? Because they fucking do the math in their head and they're like, well, what's the next most extreme thing? Oh, it would be him actually fucking the dude. I'm not going to fuck a dude, just for the record, so everybody knows. But that's what people are always getting at. So it's like, for me, you know, doing the bi-weekly live streamed orgies and shit, it's like, well, this is not shit that I like saw myself doing with my life, but I'm incentivized to do it and I'm having a good time. So why not?
So the teaser you kind of like let the cat out of the bag with is like, you guys are going to be looking for other dudes to just fuck her solo, or y'all about to run a train on her type shit?
Nah, this is going to be like for the first
Amtrak
Adam Lena and another guy threesome.
Why we calling it threesome train?
It's not a train. It's like a turn-taking type thing. I'm picturing like all of the sexual positions that we have in mind and stuff once we do shoot this thing are not like train-oriented. What I am like okay, a good example is the double penetration thing. Dick in the ass, dick in the vagina. Did I ever see myself doing that? Would I ever do it? I don't know. Me as a
you did some shit like that?
person, for sure I would not be thinking about it. As a person who does porn, would I push myself to this limit that I would potentially do it? I don't know. Tune in next time to find out.
No, Adam, I ain't gonna lie. I do think like, and I ain't even trying to be slicking on it. I don't think you'd probably be sucking a dick.
Balls touching balls, Ak.
You know, I definitely see you do like what I call that gay stuff. Like, I don't see you sucking a dick, but I can't really tell. Because somebody said there's a video of you in an orgy, you're fucking a girl, another nigga fucking a girl, and you're holding hands with the dude, and like it's like you're like y'all doing like a fusion dance, like you holding his hand, and like bruh, like yo Adam.
It was a high five.
Okay.
It's the Eiffel Tower. You never heard the Eiffel Tower? It's a famous sex position, and the guy is from France, and keep in mind he suggested this to me on a live stream, so it's not like I could like in that moment if I had ducked the Eiffel Tower on live stream, that shit would have been so foul.
Yo, Adam, what and again, you know, I'm trying to understand also the nature of your marriage as well. What about Lena is exclusive or has some sanctity with you? Like, you know, I used to know whores used to be like, oh yeah. Oh, I know this one whore, she would be like, yo, she let anybody fuck the pussy, but she's like, anal is only for her husband. Like, you know, women usually feel like they have to make something special for their guy or their husband. But it looked like if you're down to have a train ran, a little threesome, whatever else you're down to do, it feels like, you know, like when it comes to sexual, you don't feel like anything special with her then, right? And I have to think you do because you had a kid with her. Something has to be special. You can't just think it's just a fucking hole you're going in and out of.
Emotionally, we're exclusive. And I mean, of course, there's all kinds of physical stuff that she wouldn't do with another guy that we do together.
Like
but
what?
I don't feel well. I mean, she's never done anal with another guy. She's never like. I mean, everything she
She
did
had
with
to
another
do
guy.
none
you
in
see
her.
the
That's
conversation with
worse.
Jason Led- Huh?
Nah, she had to do none in her. That's 10 times worse. Like, yo, Adam, come on. Yo, what was that conversation like? You finally see the clip. You think he
I got
finna pull out?
camera conversation with you about that.
Huh?
I gotta have an off-camera conversation with you about this that scene.
Oh, okay. All right. So that's some really okay. So you care a little bit. Yo, Adam, a lot of times when I talk to you, I'm always trying to use the litmus test of where does this guy care? You know, I always bring up this conversation when I went to the last time I went to No Jumper, which I felt like it was a long time ago. Yo, I went in there and I remember just seeing a bunch of Crips and I'm like, listen, hey, I came in for content. I'm on fire. So I went crazy and I remember you had texted me like either day after and we had a conversation. And I liked the fact that you texted me and I think I told you. But this is how I internalized. I'm like, I like the fact that Adam was like, hey, listen, I do have a limit. I have a boundary. Because sometimes you come across like nothing fucking matters, brother. And I think that's where like people are usually thinking you might be a psychopath, you're definitely a sex addict, but also like, you know, you get accused of this.
What do I do that makes you think I'm a sex addict? Like my entire sex life that is outside of me just sleeping with my girl at home is documented on camera and it's totally fucking normal. And I don't have
no, it's not normal. You have an insatiable appetite for sex. You have an insatiable appetite for sex that includes going above and beyond trying to find some next level of kinkiness to try to it's like a high, it's like a crack rock. All right, cool.
That's business stuff. That doesn't have anything to do with like us just like yearning to like do this kind of stuff.
Adam, you literally said you were like you got off at the fact or you were turned on by the fact another man fucked your wife. That's kinkiness, brother. That's not business.
Oh, yeah. That was an ununintended consequence that I ended up kind of.
So
like
your dick was hard for another man's. Your dick was hard.
I knew that was gonna happen. Like I wasn't surprised by that at all.
All right. So
hey, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Shay Glizzy. She's a real live wire, isn't she?
Yeah.
But did she fuck Blueface? You're categorically denying this because I just want to make it clear. When Wack brought that to the table on the podcast,
Wack called him before you. You know why I called him before you came on here.
I didn't believe him because it just didn't seem like Wack has done this before because he did this about Lush and AD. He said that Lush fucked AD's girl or some shit, which was like immediately everybody knew it wasn't true. But Wack just goes on Clubhouse or some shit and says it. So I wasn't that surprised. There is a precedent for this.
So first of all, I felt I'll tell you two things. I said Adam's a slick motherfucker. He recorded this on Thursday. He knew Wack said this, so you dropped the clip today. By the way, I knew to get on live stream before because I wanted to surveil the landscape. I blacked on Wack. I blacked on Wack, you, Blueface, anybody in the mix. Wack calls
talking about Blueface. I didn't hear anything about me.
Yeah, Wack calls up in the mix, and Wack says, "Ak, you bit the bait. I made a bet with Adam that I could get you to promote the shit, basically by talking shit." He's probably just full of shit, right? But
100% full of shit. That's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, but he basically was just like, yo, yeah, like, you know, and I know Wack, but I was just like, yo, Wack, I know you're the guy who say certain shit for content, but if it usually involves me, you would hit me. You get what I mean? But anyway, no, that didn't happen. And by the way, for the record, a woman I'm dealing with fucks any rapper. You know what I mean? Especially after, like, honestly, I'm not even attracted to women who fuck rappers in the past. You get what I mean?
But if you found out that a girl you were dating had been with another guy who was in the public eye, maybe not even a rapper. What if it was fucking Leonardo DiCaprio? How would you feel about that?
It's over. Like I'm gonna be honest.
Even if it was just in the past, who gives a shit?
No, not in the past because I should have known going in. I should have known going in.
But you after that at a certain point, you're like, listen,
but after that,
famous because you did that to Lena in 2016. I was like, listen, I need to know anybody you've fucked that in any way overlaps with my social circle because not that it really matters, but because I need to know. I don't want to be blindsided by something.
Yeah, no. Well, for me, I'm a little bit more kind of, and it's probably like also a race thing. It's probably a race thing and a cultural thing. Like, honestly, I've tolerated way more from a woman. Like, I've tolerated bullshit. I've tolerated a chick saying random bullshit, lies about me. But one thing I will never tolerate: once another dick enters you, they ain't got nothing for us to talk about. It's over. It is over. I can't even look at you the same. We could fuck, but I can't claim you as mine. Like, there's a sanctity of what I believe a girlfriend or a significant other holds, and that completely breaks it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's honestly more about the trust that would be broken if I, like, hypothetically, let's say I find out that a couple years into our relationship, Lena just met some dude at a party or whatever and just ended up fucking him and just never told me. It's not really about the sex part so much. It's about the trust. It's about the fact that you did this, you sat on it for all those years and didn't like feel like
Sat
you
on
had
that
to tell
dick.
me.
No, it's all about the dick. It's all about the sex for me. Yo, play this.
Well,
Yo.
matters. It's more about the trust.
Yo, play this. All right, let's go back. When I was with Angelica probably broke shit. Like, she caused probably like tens of thousands of dollars worth of damage. You know, Angelica was wilding out.
To me, that's almost enough for me to walk away too.
Okay,
Like, I don't know if I can really
forgave
tolerate
all
it
of those
after that.
times. The moment that I felt that she was even whatever, it was just already over. The moment I felt like she was even entertaining somebody, I was already moving on at that point. You get what I mean? But some people, like, it might be different. Like, some people might be like, yo, you break my shit, it's over. For me, like, obviously that's some shit it should be over for, but I'm just trying to tell you the levels of, if a dick go inside you, in terms of like a woman that I'm dealing with, it is over. I don't care what it is. Like, it ain't about no trust. I don't care if you told me. I don't care if you didn't tell me. If I find out, it is over. I'm emotionally numb after that point.
But to me, if they cheated and told you immediately, that would be like way more forgivable
hell no.
than cheating and keeping it a secret for a long period of time. Now, I kind of agree that as soon as they like break the level of trust, to me, it's not about the dick, because the Jason Love thing doesn't bother me at all. But if she were to just fuck a random dude and then confess it to me at some point in the future, that's super consequential, because now I don't feel like I can trust you. And like my girl, like a couple weekends ago, she like, you know, went out to some bars and clubs with her friends or whatever. And one of the clubs or bars that they went to ended up being like a younger crowd, like people in college type age. And she said that she had like a fucking line of dudes just trying to talk to her. And like some of it was on some fan shit. Some of it was on some like, oh, like actually trying to holler at her. And that was like, you know, I didn't feel any level of guilt or not guilt, but like any level of jealousy at all when she was telling me about that afterwards, because I've been with her for fucking 7 years and I know that I can trust her. But as soon as you fuck that trust up one time, then every single time you go out and you do anything, go in a club, bar, whatever with your girlfriends, I'm going to be sitting there like stewing, like having such a hard time dealing with it. So to me, like that is probably what put me in the headspace that even allowed me to take on the gigantic dick of Jason Love entering my wife, is because of the fact that I had such a crazy degree of trust with her that I didn't feel threatened by that. And I feel like that's pretty rare, that the average, like, I know a ton of people in relationships where the girl can't go to the fucking 7-Eleven with a tube top on, and the guy, if he glances at another girl,
yeah, but Adam, for you it's different.
Like that. I am so far away from that's probably what put me in the headspace that made it seem okay to enter into it.
Yeah, but it's different though, Adam. I'm gonna tell you why, right? For example, right? I like women, and I like women that will allow me to have as many threesomes. I kind of almost like a bisexual woman, to be honest. Now, initially at first, I would be with, like, I was with a girl, and she was like, you know, we should try it one time. And that one time is like, yeah, we should try this about every month. And that every month shit to be like, oh, we can find a bitch every week. To the point it was like, yo, I think we could just do this all the time. Your wife is now, you know what I mean, she's eating the forbidden fruit. She's taking the 15-inch python, and now she might just be like, hey, listen, come on, yo, Adam, like, yo, like, hey, she might disguise it as content, but you have zero worry that, you know, again, because you enjoy, like, again, you say you enjoy these scenes. It's not like you're just like, oh, okay, I have to fuck some bitches. You're like, oh shit, I'm about to fuck a new bitch. It's happy. Like, you're happy.
No, what we do sexually on camera is still ultimately like a decision that takes place between us, because you'll notice that she hasn't shot anything with any other dude since she did the Jason Love thing, right? Yeah. Now, if you think about it from her mentality, fucking another dude, not a bad thing, and gets to make a shitload of money off it. She probably would have preferred to go and do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
From my perspective, it's like, listen, even though I let you do the Jason Love thing, this is not going to be like a consistent all the time thing. I'm down to create moments, you know, culturally, virally, etc., around us doing this. But from my perspective, like if you just go and shoot another scene with another guy right away, that takes away the thing that made it special or made it interesting to people. And now this is just part of your regular fucking job. And I'm not really trying to like live that life of just like having you just be a regular fucking porn star. You know, that's not really what I'm interested in. And
whose decision is that?
Conversation about, and ultimately at the end of the day, that's my call. The same way that her doing the first scene in the first place was her call too, or it was my call as well. I had to be making that decision in order for that to happen. It wouldn't have happened if I didn't agree to it.
You said that, but a lot of these woke motherfuckers, I seen them on Twitter. They were like, "What you mean you're allowing her?" So you do know, like this is a slippery slope where people are gonna be like, "Hey, listen, like you've opened up Pandora's box. It's really not up to what you will allow. It's that she has her own autonomy, just like you kind of have your own autonomy, and she should be able to fuck whoever she want to fuck. What's the problem?"
Oh, that'd be nice. But in the reality, we live in the real world where, you know, it's a conversation that we're having consistently. And like, even with this new content series that we're doing right now, it's like, it's going to be interesting and it's going to be exciting because people haven't seen her do anything with another guy since the Jason Love thing. So that's where I'm going with that. Now, to play the